welcome you to Inovare. Yeah, this is where we innovate. This is the podcast where changes are made. If you're not growing, then you're dying. Innovation is the key to surviving. This is Inovare, where we ain't scared to make that change and create a new way. If you're ready to learn and sit back and just chill, it's about to get real. This is Inovare.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Inovare podcast. This week, I got an old friend of mine on the show. Some of you might have seen him on the internets. He's all over the web these days. He's in another country, though, which I guess he got sick of me and wanted to fled over to the pond over there. His name is Taylor Ryan. He's a self-proclaimed startup junkie from the United States who's currently calling Copenhagen, Denmark home. Taylor spent most of his life working in co-founding and consulting for small companies and startups. He specializes in helping companies with B2C, B2B, mobile apps, marketing, digital transformation, consultation, and what's probably most important for all of us is corporate innovation. Welcome in, Taylor Ryan. What's up, dude? How are you, man?
Awesome. I love your level of enthusiasm and research, man. I'm blown away, Roy. Look at you.
Yeah, I guess I'm not the lazy 11-year-old that I once was, huh? Hitting on people on AIM.
That's true. No, if I thought I was getting that, I think we'd be in for a very strange podcast. So that's great, man.
It would have been, yeah. So how the heck are you, man? Last we talked, we talk on the internets and stuff like that, but obviously you're in Denmark. It's not even exactly like we can go like get a cup of coffee or something like that these days, right? So it's good to see you face to face, man, and you're crushing it. And so I want to start whenever I have a guest on here, and I'm just going to pretend you're the regular guest and you're not some guy that I've known nearly my whole life. So
cool, man.
When we were younger, right? You had a couple of different websites. You got into tech, right? So I want to get into your story. I know your story, but a lot of the people listening don't know your story. Or they do, and they're just like, Roy, shut the hell up and let Taylor talk about marketing. Either way, though, let's talk about when you were younger. We grew up in a very unique time. It was like, some people call it the internet boom or whatever you want to call it, right? But we all grew up with like kid pics and AIM on our desktops, and our parents yelled at us, right? So tell me a little bit about young Taylor Ryan, him growing up, and some of the websites and some of the digital stuff that you were doing as a young lad.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different directions to kind of go, but we as that first generation that knew what life was like prior to any type of mobile devices and definitely prior to the internet. Remember, if you had to go ask somebody if they could come out and play with you, you'd have to actually walk over to their house or call on the landline. And as soon as, I think for me, it was definitely AOL kind of came out, and they had those little CDs that were free everywhere. Yeah. You could get online and you trick your parents into thinking it's a good idea. And all of a sudden you're able to access the World Wide Web. You're getting into all kinds of crazy chat rooms. And that's, like, hey, 12 female, talking to a 12 male, hot. Yeah, ASL. Like you're getting into those types of dialogues. And I think that starts to open the door to what is possible and what can I learn out of this. And I think at my earliest stages, I started to figure out a little bit of HTML just by having to create a profile and understanding like, oh, I can break things out into different areas and change colors. And eventually that leads to platforms that allow you to generate very simplistic websites. And I think it's more just the act of trial and error that probably got most people either interested or pushed people away. But I think at some point we all tried to understand more of the technology that was just coming at us at breakneck speed. But I don't know, I thought I remember you having something in the way of experience with some of the online stuff as well.
Yeah. I was the AIM guy, right? I downloaded Napster and destroyed multiple of my parents' computers and got yelled at, and like every other kid, right? Like I never really felt like I was doing anything cool until I got older and realized not everybody was doing that, Like I remember there was a big group of our friends that did exactly what you're talking about, experimented with Micromedia Flash. And, when MySpace came out, it was like, ooh, I want to make my background a picture of whatever, like I want to change this. Ooh, you can change the font color. Oh man, this is so cool. And that, you know, like that expands into so much other stuff when you get older, which, I don't know. I just felt like it was part of growing up, you know, like, and if you guys still have AIM, you know, look up iGizmo. That was my,
There you go.
That's the screen name. Drop that. So you call yourself go ahead, bud. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think that was also like, it's that little tidbit there in terms of like screen names and that bullshit that we kind of grew up with, that there was no terminology. There was no order of operations in terms of, hey, you're not supposed to say this, or you look like an idiot putting this out publicly. Yeah. I just don't think there was any real public sense for what was cringy behavior or what was normal, because this was a time, I don't know if you remember when people first got really shitty. Sorry, is cursing cool? Can I just go off the handle, or
you can say whatever?
Okay, great. Yeah, so I still have videos of like the first kind of like starting video production stuff where people are like waving at the camera, thumbs up, because being on camera was like this really cool thing. And it's the same with being online, where it's like, yeah, I'm awesome, I got a website, you know, and that at its earliest stage was kind of a big deal. And nowadays, of course, it's very different. It's like, what are you doing? Right. But, you know, I think in your earliest days to learn something like that, it felt like an accomplishment, because it was kind of a big deal, because, and upon reflection, I find that not a lot of people actually did that stuff at all. Which is really strange to me.
Yeah, that's
but sorry, we could focus on like a whole podcast for shit that people used to do or didn't do, which is weird. But yeah.
No, I mean, that's a good point. Like, it was the wild, wild west in a sense. Like, you got on. I mean, nobody knew that Facebook or any other MySpace, whatever it is what you want to say, pick your social network, was going to turn into what it is today. And you're right. People were just posting, like, some people still do it, where they just like, it was their diary, you know, and they'd be like, oh man, today really sucked, I did this, and da 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 da, here's a picture of me breaking the law. And you're like, dude, nowadays people are like, dude, take that down immediately, you know. But we didn't know back then. We thought we were just being stupid little kids, you know, like hanging out with our friends in a chat room. We didn't know the adults would come and break up the party in a few years later. So, which all of that experience, right, leads you into your adult world. Now we're talking about adult Taylor, although still younger Taylor, not full blown adult Taylor. Let's focus on middle growth Taylor, right? And so you call yourself a startup junkie, and so where does this drive to become an entrepreneur come from? You know, I know you started young as an entrepreneur. My brother and I are both entrepreneurs. My brother has long said, which I'm going to have him on the show in a couple of weeks, and you can hear his story. But my brother's long said that if his company fails, that he's done. He's going to go work for somebody else, because it's so draining starting out a company, right? It's just, there's so much work that goes into it. I always say you're going to eat shit for 18 months when you're starting out a company. So, but you seem to be drawn to it like a gnat to a bug zapper or something. So where does that drive come from to be a serial startup junkie?
Well, I think it's a mix of kind of nature and nurture, and it's also you're a victim of circumstances or a product of those. And, you know, I grew up in a household that it was kind of encouraged to go out and make something yourself, or go out and you can't sit in front of the TV, go make some money. So is it mowing lawns? Is it lemonade stands? Is it babysitting? Well, not everybody. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that. But for me, it was always mowing lawns, raking leaves, washing cars. As I got a little older, it was, you know, I had a pickup truck. That was a real shit beater pickup. But the great thing was I could pick up washing machines, dryers, TVs, and flip them. And nobody was really using the vernacular flipping, but I just figured it was a great way to make a little extra cash. I always looked up to people that were self-made, and that probably comes from my dad. My dad is a used car dealer of sorts, so that's where I get most of my charm. And my mom is, she was a cashier at Giant, the local grocery store. So, you know, in terms of being able to make my own money and being able to kind of navigate the world, I didn't really see a lot of other opportunities. And the reality was like, dude, we got screwed in terms of timelines for graduation. So, for those that don't know, both Roy and I graduated in '08 from college.
Yeah.
So that, I assume '08,
Yeah.
'08 or '09,
One of those
depending
years.
on if you went
Yeah.
for like the 5-year plan,
Right.
But yeah, you end up hitting this new normal, which is like, oh yeah, anybody looking for an entry-level job, you're fucked.
Right.
So it's not as if people were walking around going, hey kid, you want to get in there and get some real skills and learn some cool stuff. That wasn't available. And so you kind of had to either progress and basically wait it out, or go into a master degree program, which wasn't in the cards for me because I wasn't a huge fan of school in general, or find some people that you could align yourself with that could teach you a thing or two, but it would be long hours and hard days. And that's kind of how I started to bridge the gap of, I got to pay off student loans either way. I got to get into the workforce. I have to do something. So I might as well work at a place that, will at the very least give me a job, because nobody else was giving me a shot. And I genuinely believe that creates a bit of a go-getter mindset, but it was also working for these people that are willing to hire a kid like me that was fresh out of school. Like, there's got to be something wrong with them too, just to be honest. But like, I'm seeing it up close and I'm like, well, I'm not that dumb, but this guy's a fucking idiot. So if I can do as good of a job, not better, then why shouldn't I run my own businesses? And that kind of gave way to some of the earliest projects that I worked on.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2008 was a fun year, man. That was, so
Yeah.
in the United States, there's a thing called the Great Recession. And so the real estate market crashed, and yeah, man, trying to find a job straight out of college, it was like, man, I should go take badminton and hang out in Morgantown for another, I went to West Virginia, hang out in Morgantown for another year or something, pretending to be a PE teacher
Crazy.
or something, because it is not, it's not good out here, Yeah, moving back in with your parents. I mean, I definitely moved back in with your parents. I assume majority of people did. I don't think many people went out and rented apartments right out of college, with the way the economy was going. And yeah, I that was when I started my podcast. I started a podcast straight out because I wanted to go in the radio industry.
Wow, good for you, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Good for you.
Yeah, well, it was a tape recorder. Literally, I mean, I had like a tape recorder, and it was like, this is the road, And then I eventually moved into, like, a year or two later, like 2010, I figured out how to record on the computer. And, yeah. But I still have tape recorders. My wife gets, you know how you always have, like, that box of USB cables that you just never want to throw out?
Sure.
In that box of USB cables, I have tape recorders and digital handheld recorders, and my wife is like, you're going to throw these away, right? And I'm like, no, those are so great. What if the kids want to use them to do some, I don't know. There's no reason to have them.
Yeah.
So you become a startup, you boost a bunch of startups, and then you move to Denmark, right? That's the timetable here. Clearly, that's the jump, right? You're like, you know what? I'm a startup junkie. I'm going to Copenhagen, right? Or what prompts your move up across the pond? We've never had this conversation. I've always been interested in asking you.
Yeah. I mean, it's not as if like I had like a momentous run at scaling some really awesome self-started companies. So like, dude, I've been all over the mix, enough to be able to be profitable, but nothing in the way of, I don't know, I wouldn't deem anything to be like a major exit. So like, first company I did barrel sales for this guy, and it was like selling American white oak barrels, large and small ones. I hated that so much. I was doing visits to wineries and distilleries down the East Coast, and then hanging out at like Irish festivals, wine festivals, garlic festivals, balloon festivals. I was one of like the carnies at like a booth basically. And yeah, I know. And I was using that as momentum to try to get into something in the way of like a real business. And man, I was struggling. Like I had started a home remodeling company with a guy that I used to work with. That fell through. I started a teeth whitening franchise with a guy. We contacted a bunch of manufacturers out in China, got a bunch of stuff made up, and then went out to a bunch of different salons and tanning salons up and down the East Coast, and actually got orders and managed to break even with that. And I kind of had a falling out with the guy. stepped out of that into like job search training because I didn't have a job, but I thought I could train other people how to do that, which then led into government contracting.
Yeah.
And that actually paid out really well. That was a $4.3 million government contract. But for those that do contracting, often it's very difficult to win as like a newcomer. So you partner as a sub for a prime and basically promise to do all the work. So we got a piece of that. That led me to trying to run with that money a company called GigSpire that was supposed to be taking government funds in order to help job search, education, and training for recent grads. That didn't pan out. Man, like I was all over the map. So I did exactly what your brother had talked about was, I was tired towards like the end of my 20s of just fighting for every single like moment in there. And there's a couple of other things in there that I don't really go into detail about, like political finance consulting. Dude, I've done it all, like crazy. But yeah, I worked for the Washington Post for almost 2 years. And it's nothing against the Post. It's just like the area that I was in was super boring and it was very old school. So I got a chance to visit the UK because I had a friend that was getting married. I met some really good people when I studied abroad out there, and one of them hit me up and said he was getting married. So I came out to Europe for all of 10 days because that was my vacation for the year. And I knew somebody that was living in Copenhagen. They're like, dude, if you're going out to the UK, just buy an extra ticket. I'm like, I didn't really plan ahead. So maybe next time. He's like, it's $30 round trip. So just buy it. And I was like, oh, all right. So I stopped by Copenhagen for all of 2.5 days. They get 5 weeks of paid vacation, mandatory, like from the government. So like that was a huge plus. I met a bunch of people in the startup scene and they were like, yeah, like I probably get out of work at like 4:30. I'm like, what the fuck? Like who's doing that? And he's like, I am startup founder. And I'm like, what? Like it sounded unbelievable. And I was there and everybody else was like, yeah, eat it up. It's fucking great. So at some point I was like, cool. So I want that life. And so, as soon as I got back, I went into heavy job search mode using a couple of growth hacks that I had been teaching other people through these programs. And I must have applied to 3,000 plus jobs over 20 different cities. And eventually I had a job offer here in Copenhagen and one in Vienna, Austria. And I just leveraged the two against each other to eventually get a pretty decent offer. I've been here for the last 4.5 years now.
Yeah, that's wild, man. And so you touched on, I mean, that's like a wild story. Like, I know that like some people, like some of the people I talk to, I'm like, oh, that's wild. I'm glad you're done talking about that. But that is like a legit, like wild story. Where you're just like, I went on vacation and then realized that I didn't want to go home. Is basically where you're at. That's really cool. I've never been to Europe, so I've always heard about the culture and the work-life balance that they have. And Americans, we work 5 days a week, and I say that in quotation marks, right? Like we work 5 days a week, and you have a 40-hour week. When really, anyone who's ever started a business or even just worked for a large organization know that 40 is closer to 60, and that 5 days is really, if you don't answer my email over the weekend, then you're in some shit when you get back here on Monday, right? It's a 7-hour gig, and the stress levels are extremely high here in the greatest state or greatest place in the world. So learning about other cultures and understanding that getting off at 4 o'clock is a real thing, right? Or the 5 weeks off, or like paternity leave for dads is a thing, it's just, it's really cool to hear about other cultures. And, you being so drawn to it, obviously it works out. And so one of the words that you used there, phrases, is growth hacking. And I've been, as much as research I did for this, I don't know what the hell growth marketing is, or growth hacking is. So you're going to have to break that down for me, dude. Cause I'm like, growth hacking. All right, Google growth hacking. And you get some weird stuff when it pops up and you Google that. So I figured I would just ask you what it meant.
Stop searching on Pornhub.
That's right, man.
It's not a search engine.
It's not. It's not. It doesn't work the same way.
Third most popular site in the world. So It's tough because like it's like every other jargon bullshit bingo buzzword. Like it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It sounds really cool. My definition is quite simply it's doing the least amount of effort, or sorry, I've already fucked it up. Putting in the least amount of effort, time, energy, and resources in order to get the biggest results. So I almost did that right. So we'll get it in edits, but
That's right. We'll cut that
yeah,
out.
it's exactly. But yeah, it's trying to streamline processes in order to effectively get the most out of the least amount of time, energy, and effort. And I think what I've often found stepping into a bunch of different marketing departments. So like I've scaled and built a bunch of startups here as the head of marketing or even the CMO, but it's because I already know the frameworks and processes and tools to do that. But whenever I go in and visit a different company or I'm bringing them in as a client, I mean, there's so many things that are old school, and it's I guess the analogy is quite simple that a lot of people decide that they've filled up their glass in terms of the amount of stuff that they know, and they have no desire to empty a little out because they've spent so much time and energy learning something. So they're like, what I know is what I know, and this will always be the case. I think growth hacking is a moving target when it comes to digital processes and digital marketing. There's new platforms available every day. There's new ways to target. There's new communities. And ultimately, the goal is what can I do in order to break these things apart, put them together more smoothly, and get either revenue, get signups, get followers, whatever your end goal is. That's kind of what I've been building over, shit, man, like the last 13 years. You know, it's streamlining processes in order to get bigger results.
And so that has to do with putting yourself out there, right? Which I know that when I talk to a lot of people who are starting out, either they don't like to talk to people or are afraid to do it. They don't like social media or they're afraid to do it. And so much of marketing and growing a brand and telling is telling a story, right? And so what if I'm not good at telling stories? What if I'm not a good storyteller? What can I do in terms of marketing or growing to get around that? Or is it just, hey man, bite the freaking bullet and record your damn self?
Yeah, well, okay, so we're talking about a couple of different things here, but let's kind of break that apart. So your goal as I don't know, maybe a consultant or somebody that wants to eventually go at the entrepreneur route, eventually it probably needs to be a personal brand play in order to get a little bit of extra momentum. And so if your goal is to get out there and be present and get content created and of course draw people into either your product or service, then great. What are the things that you can do in order to do less manual processes in order to get the same result? So instead of a one-for-one approach, meaning I do this, get this result, I want to do this one thing and get 50 or 1,000 or 10,000 results. So like a simple version of that is often maybe something that it's one order of magnitude away. What is something that somebody understands? And I think a lot of people have gotten used to doing social media, at least at like a very rudimentary level of getting on Facebook or getting on LinkedIn and posting a status. Great. So what are the odds that I might be able to post a bunch of statuses automatically without having to do much work? Mm-hmm. The question is, what tools go into that? Is it auto-generating something in the way of content? Is it curating content? Is it finding a virtual assistant to go through the most popular posts of 5 to 10 to 30 different groups and then putting them into an auto publisher and then letting everything just publish nonstop? Maybe. I think for me, it's understanding kind of the end goal or what you'd like to happen and working your way backwards. I often use like a really simple metaphor that I think people kind of gravitate towards, but like think of marketing in general as these different kind of nodes, like within like brain chemistry. So like brain cells maybe. So no node or no, yeah, that's too fucking complex, but no area of marketing stands by itself. So the idea is that if you understand one very rudimentary tool, maybe it's Maybe it's Streak or Calendly or I don't know, Mixmax. These are all great little tools that allow you to skip steps and save minutes, and over a long period of time, countless hours. If you can understand one of those, you can really start to apply all the different learnings to different parts of whatever it is that you're doing on a daily basis. So for me, it was picking up some really simple content tools and understanding that I could either restructure or get things done much more quickly by using a simple tool. And I think if I were trying to get more reach these days, I would find a virtual assistant to basically curate my content and then publish it through any one of the like halfway decent publishers or publishing tools, whether it's Hootsuite, Buffer. I'm new on this thing called Tailwind and Publer, but there's literally thousands of these things, and almost all of them have a freemium plan. It just really comes down to me processing tools. That was a really long answer. Sorry, man.
Nah, you're good. I like how your simplification example was brain. You're like, so you're doing brain surgery, and just imagine that. But no, I mean, that's, I mean, those are great examples of how, like, so many people think that it has to be me out there, right? Like, I have to be pushing myself. Which the face to a brand is important, but you can do other things around it. You can auto-publish. You can, and so that leads me into my next topic is this idea of mouth-to-mouth marketing, or word-of-mouth marketing, which is a very old-school way of doing business, which is still used heavily throughout multiple businesses today, where it's, oh, how do you do your business? Oh, word of mouth. Really? How is that, like, how is that working? Like, are you scaling? Are you growing the way that you want to be doing? I'm going to bring up my brother again. They do door knocking, which he's like, nah, dude, it's the best. It's the best way. And I'm like, okay. I'd love to learn more about that. You know, like, there's for every 100 no's, you maybe get a couple, like, it's just a very interesting way that this innovation of digital marketing is, for whatever reason, a fad, even though we've been doing it for, I don't know, decades now. But it's for whatever reason that word of mouth is still, oh, it has to be word of mouth. Word of mouth is the best, or word of mouth is this, or it's unreal the amount of people who are still relying on word of mouth marketing, where sure, it has an influence, right? I hear the example all the time where it's like, you go to a gym, or me and you are talking right now and you're like, dude, Roy, your hat is really, really cool. Where'd you get it? And I'm like, I got it at this.com. Here's the link. Maybe you click on it and you buy, right? Like, sure, that still works. But at a large scale of growth, that's not, I don't know how feasible that is to you to send 1 million people to Roy to ask him for the link, right? I don't know if it really works that way. So in a way of doing business with a word of mouth, you know, how do some of those traditional industries innovate, right? What are some tools? I know you just used a couple different examples, but what are some ways that first steps, right? A business can say, hey man, I'm majority word of mouth. What's step one? You don't got to give me the full recipe here, but, or you could. Sure. But
yeah, there's a bunch of things back there. So like, I like the example that you gave in terms of like trusting either where'd you get that or at least a friend's advice. 92% of consumers trust referrals from people they know. And this essentially gets at the point of like, I don't know if you've ever had this, but like it irks me. So like the first person that told me about the movie Avatar was a fucking idiot. And so, you know, I avoided the movie. I'm like, fuck you, Todd. Like, I don't respect your opinion or anything about you or your life. Never going to see the movie. Don't care. Yeah. It could be the greatest thing ever, but I'm not going to watch it because Todd says he loves this shit. So of course, you know, flash forward like 2 years. I'm like, all right, yeah, this is a decent movie. For every Todd, there's 1,000 more examples of somebody that you actually respect and appreciate their opinion that references you. This is, of course, why Airbnb and Uber scaled immensely over the span of, 08, 09. And it's because it was this two-sided reward system. And you see this a lot in affiliate marketing, which is basically you give both people rewards. Those that take a coupon code get a discount on the product. And when they actually convert as either a user or a customer, the person who referred them ends up getting a little kickback as well. this system works really, really well. Now, it's super difficult to do this on a high level B2B play, but it still does exist. And so like there's Get Ambassador or Viral Loops. There's Sasquatch is another referral one, Referral Candy. Like all of those work really well. But to get at its core, like it's this whole convoluted notion of like referral marketing or just word of mouth in general is in some ways the best way and in some ways so archaic. So like, yeah, of course, like we're going to trust people that we know to give us an introduction. What happens when we've already tapped out our whole network? And we've all seen friends that are constantly bugging the hell out of us about either their product, their service, their business. They're often financial services. Shout out to anybody who's doing that shit. That's a tough job. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But every once in a while, like there are circumstances, and I'm tapping into one of those industries right now. It's for architects, and architects are artists first and business people second. Mm-hmm. And the assumption that your entire portfolio of future growth is dependent on whether or not somebody will think of you when you're, I guess, when they're ready to try to buy a product or service. I think that's really old school. Unfortunately, it either comes down to good timing or being present. And to me, like, yeah, you can have 3 really coherent, super thoughtful, deep, detailed messages that are out to prospects, and they're still going to fucking hit the delete button. So it's a blend of a numbers game mixed with personalization. And I think that's where growth hacking really takes over from this old school word of mouth. Like, yeah, you can sit here and say like, it's not personal enough. Like, yeah, I get that. But if you can really dig into some of the personal stuff and really go above and beyond with some of the different different tools that allow you to create essentially merge fields over top of images, or as I've seen with some people, record very specific videos. So like everybody named Brian on the list gets the same email. Hey, Brian, we haven't talked in a while. Like, it's really crazy. I've seen a lot of different versions of that. And I do think that the best customers that I've ever gotten, I've had longer, more detailed conversations. I don't really do a lot of the email blasts anymore with super generalized approaches, because I think it's, for lack of a better word, it's been fucked out. Like everybody ruined that, you know, and I don't really dive into emails and conversations where it doesn't feel like it was tailored to me. I hope that makes sense.
No, totally. I have long said that email marketing, the only reason why I do email marketing is because you have to. Right? It's like, it's not because I feel like it's a strategy that's going to play well for me. You know, I'm like, oh, we're going to send out, 12,000 emails this month and we're going to do really well with that. No, that it's just part of the equation as to what else we're doing, right? We have like webinars or live videos or ebooks or white papers or whatever, one-on-one chats, whatever it is, insert actual, piece of resource here. And then the email marketing is just kind of like, hey, remember me? We talked, or you hit subscribe, or maybe I purchased your name from a list somewhere, but hey, check out this stuff. But email marketing, email marketing to me is just, it's old, right? Like it's one step better than me putting a postcard in your mailbox and then hoping that you're going to show up at my store, right? Sometimes it works, but I don't think it's a major strategy. I'm also just a guy who's read a couple marketing books and then follow you on every social media platform. So I don't know how, like, don't take my word for it, guys out there. Listen to Ryan, listen to Taylor over me, but I've talked to a lot of different people during this time, right? And so this podcast literally started during COVID, right? So this podcast, the original intent for this podcast, I've had other podcasts, but this podcast was, okay, let's talk to small businesses and see how they're innovating during a pandemic, right? So we talked to wineries, we've talked to mom and pop shops, we talked to government contractors. I'm trying to talk to as many people as possible to be like, what are you doing that's different, right? And not one of them has been like, well, it's business as usual, and we're just kind of, like they're all doing something, right? And it could be small, it could be delivery. So the winery was doing digital wine tastings, and they were doing that on their Facebook Live, and they were doing like wine deliveries and stuff like that. A lot of cool stuff that that is going to more likely than not be part of their business moving forward, right? And so when we talk about innovation, and you've hit on a bunch of innovative topics, right? Where it's, and so people always think about, oh, well, innovation is for the tech industry. I'm not in tech, so I don't need to innovate, right? It's well, I don't do software. I'm a roofer, or I do whatever. Insert this, right? I'm a baker, right? So innovation's not really mine. You make a cupcake and then that's it, right? But innovation's not just the tech field, right? Innovation is for every mom and pop, right? And so how does one utilize technology around them at every level, right? It doesn't have to be, we're not talking that, Dell Enterprise innovation. That innovation looks a lot different than, whatever coffee shop down the street, right? But literally in the intro here, we say, and I didn't write the lyric, but shout out to my man Joey Yak. It says, if you're not innovating, you're dying, right? If you're not looking for new ways, then you're going down. If you're hanging on to the old ways of business, maybe it works in your field, maybe, I don't know, but your field might be dying out then, I don't know. But how does someone continue innovating in the field, and then what can a mom and pop shop do that can help them, that to get that idea that the large organization, that's for the large organizations, not for the mom and pops, right? So I know that you talk about doing business with the least amount of money as possible, right? And so you've already mentioned freemium, right? But how can a mom and pop do certain things that it doesn't, I'm not going to stretch their wallet or make them go bankrupt, right? There's that risk reward that a small business has to take.
Sure. I mean, there's so many little areas. Let's just we'll take the example of the bakery, because I think that's pretty straightforward, and I think as far as technical abilities, that's on the very low end. No offense, if there's some really phenomenal growth hacker behind an awesome bakery,
right.
But I haven't heard of it. So in terms of being able to scale, especially if you have a brick and mortar type business, it's really getting wrenched down in terms of Google's algorithms in terms of local search. So if you don't have a Google My Business set up, dude, you're missing the whole fucking game. In terms of being able to update what's on your Google My Business page, they're trying to turn this into a social media platform. I don't really see that panning out in the long run, but the idea is that if you consistently post 2 to 3 pictures, videos, deals on your Google My Business page, there's a number of really awesome case studies that continue to show that you're getting 20, 30, 50, even 100% increases in page views. And not only that, but foot traffic. So if you're trying to stand out on a local level and you're struggling against other businesses that are around you, I think it's always going to be an SEO game. And, give yourself the best possible opportunity. Bakeries, in my eyes, are super visual. So you have delicious food porn looking desserts, cookies, cakes, all that stuff. I would say that being able to post on something like Google My Business will immediately shoot up your local search and volume from that. Being able to actually capture people once they come to your website, that's a whole different thing. So having a conversion form that allows people to get into a mailing list in order to get either great deals on, hey, if it's your birthday, you get a free fucking cookie, or maybe it's, I have no idea. There's so many different chances to send offers through somebody's email. Obviously, you don't want to pummel them with daily emails. But the idea is once you set up kind of a row of 20, 30 different emails that have different products that you offer that go out once every 2 weeks, you don't really have to continue to build stuff after that. I think building up that mailing list, getting people to the actual physical store would be how I would help out a bakery. Really broad example, but yeah, I mean, B2C is always going to be so much easier,
Yeah. No, and thank you for that. That's exactly what I was looking for, right? Is that there's always a step, right? and not that I was looking for something in particular, but there's always a step that you can take to do whatever, to take just one more step, right? You can do one thing today, or you can do 5 things today. And so I lead that into, so I'm old school in that sense, and I went looking for my notebook, and I swear it's right next to me, but I write down 5 things that I do every day, right? I call these our bricks, right? And so that leads into personal development and personal management, right? Is that everything that I'm going to do today is right here in my notebook. And when I need to do it, when I'm running late or it's a 1 o'clock, I open up my notebook and I'm like, shit, I've only gotten 1 out of my 5 things. That means I need to buckle down and maybe push this to tomorrow, whatever it is, right? I know that the bricks keep me in order, right? But I've heard you speak about team management, and I watched a couple videos of you talking about this is something that you're passionate about. So I said, you know what? I'm going to bring this up to Taylor, because whenever I hear somebody say, I'm passionate about this, well, then that probably means that there's some good information behind it. So I've talked at length about personal management on this show in multiple shows, but I have never talked about team management on this show. And so is lists a part of it? Tell me about your team management structure, and what are some ways and why are you so passionate about team management?
Yeah, damn, dude, you've done your research. That's impressive. That's like really good.
I clicked a few things on Google. Yeah, look at that.
Oh shit! I'm like, whoa! Like, it says here your name's Taylor. It's
right.
Like, all right.
Yeah, that's a start.
Yeah. It was actually my last public presentation, because I don't know, like, they keep locking things down, opening them up. Denmark's been super light on this, but I did basically an event series called Growth Secrets, and now it's an online course, growthsecrets.org. But the last one that I did was basically growth hacking, building a team. So like building a team for growth. And so I would say that, like, if you look at different team members as just an extension of you, or an extra appendage, or an extra growth that you're able to kind of push in a general direction, then at some point you're almost kind of cloning yourself and handing it off to a task that maybe you don't want to do every day. And so how do we go about looking at maybe the things that we don't want to do, or our least viable assets, in terms of, like, I really hate doing finance stuff. So if I can find somebody that's willing to do elements of this, not only does it alleviate time for me, but it also allows me to do a million other things that I enjoy more, which makes, I think, the day go a lot more smoothly. So for starters, it's realizing what you're good at and not doubling down on shit that you're already bad at and don't want to get better at. The other side is, I think, take your best elements and build yourself kind of a team around that. And then underneath of those people, give them either proteges or assistants or even interns. So I always build up my team with the same kind of 5 characters that are underneath me, that are learning via process from everything that I do. So it's the growth hacker / SEO person, content writer, designer, front-end developer, back-end developer, and every once in a while I'll throw in a videographer. Underneath each of those people, I'll put anywhere from 1 to 3 interns. And the goal is to have the person that is brand new learning from somebody that maybe only learned this whole concept 3 months before, 6 months before, whatever the case is. It's called the Protege Effect. As somebody that is supposed to be a practitioner, you get much better, much more quickly by showing somebody else how to do something. There's a number of reasons for that. One is you don't want to look stupid, which I think is fucking amazing. So you don't want to look stupid to the brand new intern. So you're like, oh, I gotta fucking learn this, which is a really cool incentive. And I don't have to work that hard at it because they don't want to look dumb. So it's like, cool, go fucking learn. The other one is obviously, like, I think when you're taking a new skill and you shift where you're learning from, it changes the whole dynamic, so that you have to learn it in multiple ways, the teacher and the student. So I also think, like, lastly, the most important thing is, if it's just me fucking banging the drum and saying, this is how you do it, this is how it's done, I think it loses something. I want people to take my processes and make them their own. And so the most important element of kind of, after everybody understands how to teach, is making sure the processes are in place. So what I always end up doing is saying, cool, once we've kind of figured out the circuit, the entire process from start to finish, I need you to go back in and give me a step-by-step rundown with screenshots of every single click that you made, what you inserted, what actually goes next, so that when or if everybody gets hit by a comment that works with me, I can plug in the next person and we're good to go. It's just building out processes, building out a structure in which people are there to learn, and then allowing those that are really interested in learning to continue that kind of that path. And I think if you do that at scale, it makes for a bunch of people that are not only really competent at what they do, but they give a shit, and they also want to learn because there's buy-in. They feel like they're learning. They're not getting things where anywhere else they probably would just like go back to your fucking desk and do like your really manual job. So it's a multi approach, but like my experience has been it works. It's just it's also a grind because you have a lot of really new people, new personalities. So I have 14 people in there, and at any given point, it's it's a madhouse. Everybody wants your attention, but the goal is to kind of silo yourself off from these things unless there's something really important, which ultimately allows you to get a lot more strategic as opposed to a lot more execution.
No, I
Does that make sense?
Totally. No, that I love the train the trainer approach where it's, hey, in order for you to learn more, you're going to have to go teach this person. Because you're exactly right, man. Nobody's going to go into that and be like, like I just kind of just wing it, and because that person, whoever they're teaching is like, this guy is an idiot. I'm going to take his job very soon. You know what I mean? Like, and then I even like to record them. I'm like, hey, go teach this person and record it so I can watch it later. Because then they're like, well, shit, I can't just go in there and say, I don't do anything, because then Roy will know that I don't do anything, or whatever, then it'll be confirmed that I actually don't do anything.
I definitely have kind of the same thing going. I call it like my growth drive. And so every process has been recorded numerous times because you have to show multiple people every once in a while. Everything has a Google Doc to go alongside it. So you have the steps. That way, like, your processes are in place. And if there's ever room for optimization, then you tweak them, But I love the idea of recording. I'm glad that you kind of got to that point as well. And it makes sense given that we're recording right now. But yeah, not a lot of people think to do that.
No, I took every single process so when I first started out, so I do government contracting. I don't know if we've ever had this conversation, but I do government contracting, and I build automated solutions for the government, right? Probably the least sexy thing that you could possibly do, right? And but that's me, man, and I eat it up. And so when I first started out years ago, it was winging it. It was, hey, what do you do? Oh, based on your response, I'm going to respond in this fashion. So trying to hire somebody to just have my instincts and have my knowledge is impossible, right? What do you mean you don't know what to do? Just listen to what they say, and then they'll tell you, and then you tell them what to do. That doesn't work. And so in recent years, the more that I've done it, I've turned it into templates and forms. Like, have them fill out this form, and then based upon the percentage of response or whatever, respond with this, right? And we can fine tune, and we can still give an area, an aspect of, a custom response to them, fill in the blanks with their solutions and stuff like that. But we've templated out the solution, so now it's quicker, it's faster, it scales. And if I bring somebody else in, I say, hey, here's our SOPs, here's the process, here's some slides about how to do it, learn it, teach it to this person so that you can go teach it for the greater good, right? It's templating and everything out. That was like one of the biggest things that I did in recent years. It's just like, if I get hit by a bus, if I get hit by the bus, this company can't die, right? This needs to be foolproof. I can't be the product. You can't be working in the business. You have to be working on the business. Oh, wow. Look at that.
You're
the first guy to screen share. You're the first guest I've ever had to screen share. Look at this.
Oh, did I just blow your mind,
Roy? You did. You blew my mind.
Nice. You kind of got like a spark in me. So like I love doing decision trees when it comes to business development. And so ultimately what I've set up on my side is a lot of automation in terms of LinkedIn connections, and a seemingly personal introduction message. After that, virtual assistants take over. And depending on how they answer the string of questions and what is inside of the company, they ultimately come down to like a match, potential match, miss, like see you later, bye. It's getting to a decision tree level of roboticism that I just don't think a lot of people do. And, like I always kind of use the same adage or metaphor, but like if you ask, I'd say 9 out of 10 people to grab a beer out of the fridge, they'll go up to the fridge, realize it's closed, and come back to you and be like, oh, the fridge was closed. And it's like, dickhead, like open the fridge, pull the beer out. And like, oh, you didn't say that. Like I have so many instances where like that's the thing. So you really have to spell it out robotically. And I think once people understand that system that you've laid out for them, that's where they can start getting creative and inventive. But man, it's so hard to kind of get people to pick up and learn, without it really being like crystallized. So difficult.
I had to write it all down. So it wasn't easy for me to just be like, oh, well, step 1 is this. I had to go back and look at PowerPoint slides that I gave. I had to go back and, okay, well, how did I get to this point? And then reverse engineer my own process and crazy mind. Anyone who's ever worked for me knows that I'm a complete lunatic and that I'm all over the place. So capturing that was very difficult. So, well, man, I've loved this conversation. And but how can people reach Taylor Ryan? How can people learn more about you and go down the same rabbit hole of good ideas that I went through? So what's a good way to reach you?
Yeah, hopefully there's a couple of links inside of the show notes, but Clint Marketing is the agency. It's Clint, but clintmarketing.com. It's growth hacking, it's process automation, it's like full spectrum marketing. So I am definitely in need of another client or two. We definitely have the resources in here. So I am looking hardcore to bring on somebody that we can work with for the next 6 months plus. So if that sounds like you and you want to grow some revenue in a very short period of time using some cool growth hacky kind of stuff, then let's chat. You can find me on LinkedIn. I think there's only a handful of Taylor Ryans. There's actually one other Taylor Ryan in Denmark, and he doesn't look like this. So there's that. And yeah, I have 2 other little projects that I work on. So growthsecrets.org is my online masterclass. I ran a masterclass on Udemy for a while and figured like Udemy takes like 90% of the revenue. So might as well just create a decent little website and the same material. And I also run a startup called Architecture Quotes. Architecture Quote helps anybody that is an architect globally find government contracts, specifically government contracts in Europe, competitions, freelance projects, and we also organically generate our own. So I have lots of projects going on, but yeah, it shouldn't be too hard to find me. If you have events or anything that you're looking for a guest to come on as, I don't know, webinar speaker these days, you can go to taylorryan.io as well. So yeah, man, I've been busy.
Well, yeah, there's no shortage of ways to find you, and I appreciate it. And you just speaking that right there, royally realized that I screwed up on some of my past guests in not linking their websites in the show notes. So I'm like, he's like, I'm sure this will be in the show notes, and I'm like, shit. Man, how did I overlook that one?
Now I got homework.
Right, now I got to go update all my last shows. So, well, dude, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate the conversation. And it's been too long since we've had this conversation. Maybe we just turn this into Zooms where we just drink from other ends of the world and hang out. So I appreciate you, man. And
great, man. That sounds like fun.
Yeah. Until next time, buddy. So, guys, hey, thanks for checking it out. If you want to listen to all previous podcasts, you can go on iTunes, Spotify. You could go – I hear we're on 7 different platforms, so that's pretty cool. You can go on YouTube, or you can just find it all in one place and go to InovarePodcast.com. That's probably the easy way. That's probably the way that I would do it. So go to InovarePodcast.com, listen to all your previous shows, get in touch with all these people because I'm going to put all their contact information into the show notes like Taylor said. So, guys, thanks for hanging out, and until next week, see you.